I'm here in my undersea compartment, and Sid Smith is in his tower block he owns in a Profumo era part of Newcastle. What we're doing today is episode 18 of Idiot Wind, our bluster through Dylan vinyl, the definitive collection. And episode 18 is a live album. It's Hard Rain. That's the brilliant magazine. And this, I think you'll find, is the album cover. A chilling, dramatic photo of Bob, and on the back, a blurry photo of him on stage from the TV special that accompanied this album. I noticed Sid is holding up a blank piece of cardboard with the words Dylan Vinyl, the Definitive Collection, 180 gram album and mag. I can't see an album or a mag there, Sid. What's going on at your end?
Well, I have to be honest. I started off.
Yes, you have to be. Honesty is the least our viewers can expect.
I started off this series with some enthusiasm, I have to say. I didn't really own, apart from one or two albums, I didn't really own any Dylan. So, and it seemed like a good idea at the time to, let's listen to all the Bob Dylan albums as they come out on vinyl.
A brilliant idea.
Yeah, but sort of 17 albums in, I realized two things. One is I'm really, 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 really not much of a Bob Dylan fan. And
yeah, that's obvious.
And also I'm approaching, if I buy all these albums of an artist that I'm not that fussed about, I'll also be approaching bankruptcy. So I've decided to stop buying the definitive collection because
are you going to hold that card up every week?
I will. I'll keep this card, and it'll be a placeholder. And in one sense, I feel quite liberated that I've managed to kick the habit. But however, such is my dedication, I am going to listen to the Dylan album, albeit on a different platform. In this case, I'll be streaming the albums, which is a far more cost-effective way. I'm streaming via the service Qobuz, which allows me to stream in high res. And
does Bob Dylan get any money for that, Sid?
Yes, he does.
Does he?
He does,
but not as much as if you bought the record.
I don't think Bob Dylan gets very much from this series. I think they bought them.
I think he does. I think as he goes into his twilight years, he'll be relying on the income he generates via Idiot Wind, the podcast. And I think you're cutting him off financially at the balls there.
Are you suggesting that I might be sabotaging Bob Dylan's twilight career?
I'm suggesting his retirement is in jeopardy, and he may have to carry on touring because of you.
All right. Well, I might reconsider.
Yeah. Okay. I thought I'd persuade you.
So for future
very dramatic.
For future episodes, I will be holding up the card of Bob Dylan, and
the card of magnificence. Well, let's see what our viewers think of that decision. I'm sure there'll be a huge correspondence postbag about that. But I must point out the picture editors of the magazine. I've played a blinder. You may recognise this photo. It's the cover photo from Hard Rain. It's even got the lettering on, just in case you're in any doubt. And then you open it up. This is the feature called Snapshot, and it gives us a lovely picture to illustrate this period of Bob's career every time. And this time it's this picture, which you can see is exactly the same as the album cover. And then you open the magazine, and as usual, yeah, no surprises here. It's that, so you've actually got, when you buy this edition, you've got 4 different copies of that picture. And I just wonder, what the fuck is going on at the Definitive Collection Dylan Vinyl magazine headquarters for that, Sean, that to be allowed? Yes.
Sean, it's almost as if the people putting the Definitive Collection together don't give a fuck and are doing
it is
cheaply.
Are you in charge of the magazine, Sid? Anyway,
if I was in charge of the magazine, there'd be a damn sight more content than.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
I think the magazine is a disgrace. The albums are beautifully pressed.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're heavyweight, 180 gram. They all sound great. Really do sound great.
Yep, they do.
But anyway, let's get on with the story. Last time we spoke about Desire, an album you like more than me, which is incredible for a Bob Dylan discussion between us two. What? Sorry?
I'm saying yes, go figure.
Yeah. Between Hard Rain and Desire, before we get here, there was the Rolling Thunder tour. And indeed, Hard Rain is said by some to be part of the Rolling Thunder tour. This has very famously been brought to life on the Netflix special. This is the Criterion Blu-ray, a stunning release by Criterion of the Scorsese movie with brilliantly mixed 5.1 sound and loads of extras and a great booklet, this is. And so people will have seen this slightly spurious version of the events of the tour. It's called Rolling Thunder Review, a Bob Dylan story by Martin Scorsese. And that's what you'll find all things about in this film about Bob Dylan's love for the band Kiss. You'll find all kind of things about his so dodgy relationship with the frankly underage Sharon Stone before she became an actress. And you will soon realize that all of this is completely untrue. And I think this is very funny. Many Dylanologists have, how dare he not be accurate? As if Bob Dylan has ever been accurate in anything he said and has never told a lie in his past. To accompany that, Dylan released this, which is a 14 CD box set of live recordings from the 1975 section of the Rolling Thunder Review tour. This includes the rehearsals and it includes several complete concerts and a disc of rare performances of things he only did once or twice on that 1975 leg of the tour. This is blazing stuff. This is a brilliant box. And if you've seen that film, this is astonishing. And the versions of ISIS on this alone are worthy of buying the box set. Now, Hard Rain, this album we're discussing now, is from what's called the second leg of the tour. And the second leg of the tour, this came out in 1976, the year after this, is a different affair to the one, the well-known. It's not, let's be succinct, it's not so good. The performances aren't so good. This is a more straight ahead rock performance. By the time it comes to a grinding close in 1976, Bob is getting, who'd been full of enthusiasm for it to start off with, and full of frenzy about campaigning for Hurricane Carter, had a full supporting cast of Joni Mitchell and Roger McGuinn and Mick Ronson. Mick Ronson just appears on the opening track of this. He'd compacted it down to a small band. He was playing outdoors, playing bigger venues, and he was feeling a bit down in the dumps as it became another tour. And on this concert, it was filmed for a TV special, and the weather was appalling. It was outdoors, so it was already, I think there was actually hard rain. There was actually hard rain when he performed. And to make matters worse, his wife Sarah and members of his family turned up in the wings for this show when he was already feeling very anxious about the performance. And I think it's a pretty good live album. I think it's quite exciting. But what the remarkable things are on this album, I think, are the versions of songs from Blood on the Tracks. Shelter from the Storm is a radical transformation. It's like the Clash are playing it, and he's playing it with a real drive and intensity. That's, I think the album cut's excellent, but this is completely different kind of intensity. It's a lovely version. And Idiot Wind, of course, already a vituperative song, becomes even more vituperative here, and he's obviously aiming that performance at Sarah in the wings. But overall, you know, I'm a bit baffled as to why they didn't release a live album from the 1975 tour. We had to wait until 2019 for that, although there was an earlier bootleg series one that, in, you know, this full set incorporates material from. But that was a double CD. So that's a good place to start if you're interested in this tour. But it's a bit weird to me they released it from this part of the tour. He was much happier on the first version. He had Joan Baez, he had Joni Mitchell, he had Sarah on tour with him, and he wasn't anywhere near as angry as he is on this. Now, what did you think?
Well, I didn't know the album, and I hadn't heard it before listening for this. I saw it on the rack in the newsagent, and I have to be honest, I did have a twinge about whether to buy it or not.
Yes, and you wrongly chose not to.
As I said earlier, I managed to kind of talk myself in off the ledge and say, let it go, let it go. And having listened to it a couple of times now, I'm very glad I did. I'm very glad I did let it go, and not shell out whatever it was, 15 quid or whatever it is, retailing for in the newsagents. Because this album is frankly atrocious. I've never heard a band sound so ropey as fuck on these, and the fact that I don't know how many guitarists are on the album, but the fact that they're all too stoned or drunk to bother getting their guitars in tune, or in some cases even finish the song at the same time, is I mean, on the one hand, that kind of insouciant performance can be quite entertaining, but as I listened through to them, I just thought, this is the sound of people who can't be arsed. That's what it sounded like to me. Now, I didn't know anything about the background of the recording, and I didn't know anything about where this was in the overall scheme of things until you just told me. But it does sound like they can't be bothered, and it does sound, and I think sometimes the arrangements, you can hear, there's a track, Lay Lady Lay, there's a version of Lay Lady Lay. I listened to that, and they do this thing of where I think he sort of sings Lay Lady Lay, and then there's a chorus of people, and they all sing the next line again, and it's like they're knocking it into the ground like a slightly bent tent peg that won't quite go in, and it kills the music. I mean, Lay Lady Lay, it's not necessarily a great Bob Dylan song, perhaps, but it is a big hit, and maybe because it's a big hit, they feel like they've got to do something with it. But I'm afraid the arrangement, as often happens with bands, how many live albums do we hear where a band sort of says, "Oh, I know, we'll extend this section out because it's live and you want to kind of involve the crowd." And I think, that can be a reasonable decision sometimes. But in this instance, I so many times throughout the album, I just felt whatever music was there was kind of carelessly tossed aside, and kind of just bypassed. It didn't sound to me like there was a band of people who cared very much about what they were playing, and that may be, I mean, I dare say the critical reaction to it is that it's one of the best, but it's not. That's not the critical reaction. All right. Well, I feel slightly vindicated then. It just sounded cursory, and
I think a lot of it is. I wouldn't quite go so far as you, but I think a lot of it is cursory. I think this is a tour that should have ended ages before. Yeah, and I think he feels that. But I do think particularly Shelter from the Storm, is a great version. And there's a moment. I mean, I'll take your word for that. It didn't quite engage me in the same way, but I listened. I mean, I listened to it twice, like one time straight after the other, and then I listened to a portion of the album a third time, because I just couldn't quite believe my ears. I just thought,
I thought, are they really doing it like that? Or maybe my attention wandered and I'd sort of misheard it. But no, they are actually doing it like that. There's a great moment on, I think, oh God, what, You're a Big Girl Now, is it called? Which is off
Blood on the Tracks.
Blood on the Tracks. Now, I actually don't mind that song, but man, the introduction on this album, it's like three of the band are kind of playing the introduction, and the other bit of the band are sort of oh, it goes like that, does it? All right. It just now that of course may be painstakingly rehearsed.
No, it won't be painstakingly rehearsed.
And it may be a meta comment. Now, let's just ask. I saw at your urging, it must be said, I saw the Netflix thing you're talking about.
Yeah,
and I absolutely loved that.
It's a great.
I thought it was fantastically entertaining. I thought in places it was wildly funny. I admit I didn't know, if you like, some of the in jokes, and I may not have enjoyed those without your help and assistance, because you kind of primed me for them, as it were. So in a sense, I had to. But am I right in thinking in that documentary, there's in inverted commas, there's a moment where Joni Mitchell's sort of singing.
Coyote. Yeah. That's it. Is that Gordon Lightfoot's house, isn't it?
It's worth it just for that.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is,
and it sounds great in 5/1.
Yeah, it's an astonishing performance.
But going back to the band, and
of course that song was written on that tour.
Yeah,
because Coyote is Sam Shepard.
Yeah, the playwright.
Yeah, she's having an affair with him on the tour.
And I think I think that the performances that you see on that tour, they sound great. They sound really sharp and
yeah. Well, those performances are in a different league to anything on this record. Yeah, and I don't understand. So as I said, I don't understand for the life of me. Look, you've got, and it recorded them. It recorded all those performances, professionally. Why on earth would you put this out instead of that?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me, and it never has. Yeah. I suppose there's a TV special, and they think Columbia think there's got to be a record to go with the TV special, which is the concert video, which I've never seen. But I just find it, when you've got that weight of performances of such dazzling nature of the original tour the year before, I find it pretty astonishing. We have to wait how long? I mean, 20, 30, 44 years to hear them. It's just amazing to me. I mean, I mentioned the earlier bootleg version, which will be right here. Yeah, this is a good double live album, which was released in 2010, and this was volume 5 of the bootleg series. So if anybody's looking for a 2-disc primer to the actually interesting bit of the tour, 2 discs of it, it's very good, and there's a good booklet in there as well. Very, very well put together, and that's now been a bit superseded by the 14 CD box set. But if you're a normal person, this is all you really need, as we say. This is if you're a casual fan, there's 2 CDs, and it's got all the big songs on: Isis, Mr. Tambourine Man, It Ain't Me Babe, Hard Rain's Gonna Fall. It's got Tangled Up in Blue, Oh Sister, Hurricane, One More Cup of Coffee, Sarah. They're all on there live, and it's kind of a made up set list of an imaginary show from various shows. But that is a great listen, and this isn't really. It's mainly a very average or sub-average listen with about 2 decent, incandescent performances by Bob on them. But he's being he's being at that level all through this.
Yeah,
all through the double album, you know. So I literally, it's one of those albums, and there will be more to come. The motivation behind releasing utterly escapes me. He's had a good run. He's had a good run. He's another good album coming soon after.
Presumably,
and you know, this spoils it.
Presumably, the motivation for releasing them won't be much to do with Bob Dylan. I'm assuming it's it's a contractual obligation. It's the company pushing them out. What's the one track from this? You might have already said it, but
Shelter from the Storm.
Right.
Shelter from the Storm, without any doubt whatsoever. And you've got a favourite track.
And that's because it sounds like The Clash, you said.
Well, that's just a rough approximation of what it sounds like. It takes the song, which is a dramatic but quite acoustic-y, you know, subtle performance on Blood on the Tracks, and it utterly changes its character, and I think in a very convincing way. I think Bob's vocal is great.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest here.
You've got no favourite.
I would struggle to pick anything. If you put a gun to my head and said, you pick one
many times in this series I've wanted to do that.
I would, under duress, I would pick You're a Big Girl's Blouse, or whatever it's called.
You're a Big Girl's Blouse.
I would pick that one, even though it is ropey as fuck, especially in the introduction. But generally, there's very little going for this album, and I'm glad we've got past it. And things can only get better, I would assume.
They will get better in the next episode.
What is the next episode going to cover, Sean?
The next album is called Street Legal.
Street Legal.
Yeah, so that's a good album.
Okay,